Excellent. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our formal presentation. If anyone has questions, we'll open the floor to that now. You can direct your questions at any of us or all of us. Be happy to start a discussion about anything you might like to learn about. For some background, as we wait for the questions to come in, this picture was taken as we visited Masjid Hassan al-Thani in Casablanca. It's the largest mosque in Morocco and thought to be the third largest mosque in the world, perhaps the largest outside of Mecca. Again, those facts are a little dubious. We've had trouble verifying them, but that's what our tour guides told us. It's a very beautiful place right on the water in Casablanca.
What was the application process like? I'm assuming they mean for NSLI. So for NSLI, you do a written application, then you have an interview, pretty much what it is. There's a lot of information about that on the NSLI website. You can get all the dates, everything on there.
There was one about culture shock.
Biggest challenge or moment of culture shock? You guys could talk about
anyone want to anyone want to start off on that one? Sure. Yeah, I think one of my big moments of culture shock was a few weeks after I arrived. I actually had the privilege of attending my host brother's wedding in Morocco. It was a really excellent experience. There was so much to just see and observe. We've been really lucky to take a class on cultural anthropology. In addition to our Arabic classes here, it's taught by Colleen. And so through that class, I've learned that Morocco is what we'd call like a high context culture, in that a lot of things happen and people don't necessarily feel the need to explain them to an outsider. So I was at this wedding and loud music was like constant. The bride was being picked up in a chair platform type thing and being carried around the room. It was very beautiful. And the other aspect of it was that it was on a Thursday, started at about 10 p.m. and raged until about 4 in the morning. And I had permission to go from Colleen contingent upon being in Arabic class the next morning. So that was one challenge. But what really was the culture shock element of it for me was then afterwards, about a week or so, when I was then eating dinner with my host parents and my host brother and then his new wife. We were talking and the topic of my birthday came up and I mentioned that I just turned 19, and it was revealed to me that my new host sister-in-law was also 19, and that was just a very big shock to me that she and I were the same age and yet at so different points in our life. And it took me a while to get over the fact that I was having this incredible experience for the year and go back and go to college, and there were so many things that I wanted to study and see and do, and yet she had just entered into marriage. And I think I learned from that experience that just because we were on different paths in our life, like one wasn't necessarily better than the other. And I also had to examine my own perspective on what I thought, on what I was imposing on her own path, that she had been married and that the rest of her life I thought was essentially over, when in reality that was actually not true. So it was a very interesting experience in both being exposed to how a Moroccan wedding was, but then also all the cultural forces that were behind that wedding and behind the marital union of my host siblings.
Our next question is, what is our favorite place we have visited so far? Okay, so for me, my favorite place I visited is when we went on an excursion to Marrakesh, and as part of that excursion, we went to a small town called Sidi Fatma, and we got to climb a mountain, which was fun. And we also got to visit a women's rug cooperative in Sidi Fatma. So when you think of a Moroccan city, you often think of the old Medina, which is where like all sorts of handicrafts and goods are sold. But what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of the things, most of the profit doesn't go to the artisans themselves, but to the middleman who buys the art from the artisans and transports it to the Medina and sells it to the people who sell stuff there. And so this cooperative is trying to sort of allow female artisans to reclaim their work and provide a livelihood for themselves by making rugs and by eliminating the middleman. And so it was a really interesting organization. We learned a lot about the history of it, a lot about the backlash the community or the people in the cooperative are actually facing as a result of it. And that was probably my favorite thing we've done so far.
I definitely agree. That was a really lovely day.
Yeah. That was great.
And visiting the mountains was so nice because, I mean, I forgot to mention this, but geographic diversity in Morocco is amazing as well. We live in Rabat, which is a coastal city, and there's cliffs, there's rocks. It's amazing. It's sunset. The ocean is right there. There's a nice breeze. But there's also the famous Sahara, the desert, in the south, as well as just amazing mountain ranges, and the Atlas, High Atlas, Middle Atlas, just amazing geographic diversity, and even the oases in the desert as well. Yeah, with regards to that. And you guys, what's your favorite area of Morocco, I guess?
Yeah, as you said, Morocco is very diverse in geographic terms. You have the mountains with Ifrane where it snows, then you can get arid deserts, dune deserts. I think my favorite time was when I went near the the border with the southern border, and this place, so it's the dune desert, it's the Sahara Desert, and there was absolutely no city nor any infrastructure miles around. And at night you could actually see the Milky Way from that place. So that was my moment where I said, "Wow, I really love this country."
I think my favorite place in Morocco is northern Morocco. I think I have been to Chefchaouen this summer, and that's literally my favorite city so far. It's a blue city that's all painted blue, that's built on a small hill, which I think is really nice and really different.
So the next question is about the economy and trends with technology in Morocco. This is a hard one.
Yeah.
I feel like you two will probably be better at answering this than we will.
Yeah, well, economy. Morocco is still living a lot of agriculture. We have also some exports that are proper to Morocco, such as phosphate. That a lot of national business belong actually to the king, so they're national. So they're and that way that a lot of currency from outside enters Morocco thanks to that, and that helps build infrastructures. Regarding technology, Morocco is really starting to invest a lot of money into renewable technology, especially solar. We have this huge mass of land, the Sahara can just be filled with solar panels. And people have understood that. And the fact that Morocco is so close to Europe makes it so that we can export this renewable energy to a really low price, and that I think that's what's going to be the future of Morocco. The largest solar farm is actually here in Morocco. It's called Noor One,
And Noor in Arabic is light.
yes.
The Noor 1 project is actually really interesting. We had the pleasure to visit COP22, the UN Conference on Climate Change, earlier in November, and they had a big exposition on what they were doing with solar technology. And the Noor project is really interesting in that Morocco is kind of trying all of these new experimental solar technologies that haven't really been put into practice anywhere else in the world. So Noor 1, for example, as Ali was talking about, can actually even collect energy from the sun on cloudy days and at night because the solar panels are curved. Granted, I don't really know the science behind that, but it's pretty incredible. And there's another solar field that they're working on that has like a large tower in the middle and all of the solar panels spiraling out from that, and somehow it heats up a pillar of water in the tower or something like that. But Morocco is making a huge push for investment into renewable energy, and the king has said that by 2050 the country will be more than 50% reliant on renewable energy sources.
We also got to meet with an organization, an NGO called Darcy Hamad, and basically what they do is really interesting. They have figured out a method. It's been implemented a few other places around the world, but it's not very common to harness clean drinking water from fog instead of from wells or from anything like that. And so they put this. It's very, very sustainable, and they put it into practice in a few villages where previously women in the village had to spend like up to 5 hours a day going and walking to get water from a source that was hours away from their homes. And so this new technology has empowered these women and allowed them to sort of maybe enter the workforce or spend their time doing something else than gathering water.
Mm-hmm. And just even like bringing gender diversity into that, when it was first implemented, maybe it wasn't completely on the table, like how would this affect women specifically other than giving them more time. And what they shared with us is that actually, though it did free up like the time it took to fetch the water, it meant that this role that they played was now taken away. And so I think Morocco is also like taking more into consideration like gender development and understanding that can't be gender neutral. You really do have to consider like the diversity of your policies and who that affects. And Darcy Hamad like definitely has addressed that in economic, social, political, everything. Oh, we should talk about the Fulbright conference, immigration, integration, and citizenship. Catherine, Andrew, and I all attended that conference, and wow, it was very, very perspective widening. Well, like it widened my perspective definitely. The first legislation for integrating, or especially like sub-Saharan migrants, integrating them into Moroccan society when they're not just going on to Europe, as Ali mentioned, like when they're actually staying, or anyone really is staying in Morocco and remaining and looking to become a citizen. was in the early 2000s, but then in 2014 there were major reforms because it has been an issue that's gaining a lot of prominence. And again, it's a very visual issue. Like, what else did you guys take from the conference?
Also, I mean, okay, so this isn't directly related to the content of the conference, but the lingual diversity of the conference was really interesting.
Right.
It was cool. It was in French and English, and also, I mean, Arabic discussions and things were taking place in Arabic. And if you didn't, they had these little headsets available when you walked into the conference rooms that would have like real-time translation if you didn't speak the language that was being spoken, because it's really cool to have a country that's so lingually diverse. People speak so many different languages, but it also does create challenges because not everybody is going to speak all the languages all the time, and you can't really find one language that everybody's going to be able to speak. And so they've figured out really cool methods of technology for dealing with that.
There's a really interesting element of solidarity with that too. I just remember sitting in a row with all of us behind a group of Moroccans who didn't speak English, and so then they had their headsets on for the parts of the conference that were in English, and then it turned to French, and we had no idea what we were doing since most of us don't speak French. And they turned around and recognized our confusion. They saw that it was the same confusion that they had when the conference was in English, and they passed back their headsets. So I don't know, it was just an aspect of Moroccan society that is there every day and has such a profound impact on everything.
Yeah, a lot of code switching.
Yeah.
And so is Morocco still closely tied to France? And what structures pull Morocco together with other neighboring African countries? Sorry.
Oh, all right. Politics, I'm majoring in politics at high school, so this is Morocco is very, very attached to France and to Europe in many ways. We like to say that Morocco is at the crossroads of three cultures: the European culture, the North African culture, and the Sub-Saharan culture. Actually, King Mohammed II said very eloquently that Morocco is like a tree whose roots are in Africa and whose leaves breathe the European air, watered by Islam. Yes,
Wow.
That was a really interesting.
That is very nice.
That is also true for economic partners. Morocco has actually recently, in the past year, King Mohammed VI is actually starting to showcase Morocco in a lot of different African countries. I could give you the name of 10 countries that the king has been the past 3 months: Togo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Senegal, all of these countries, because Morocco is aspiring to be the leading country of Africa, and it cannot be done if it doesn't enhance its efforts politically and economically with the continent. That being said, Morocco stays still very attached to Europe. The relations with Latin America are almost inexistent. They're cordial at most, diplomatic at most. Whereas with North America, with the United States, well, you guys are here, so you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of cooperation regarding security. So yes, Morocco is also starting in the past few years to welcome a lot of investment from Oriental Asia. So mainly Japan and China are starting to invest a lot, and there are a lot of Japanese and Chinese expats in Morocco, and we benefit from this experience in local businesses here in Morocco. So for the most part of Moroccan history, it has been turned toward European economy as a way to supply it with cheap labor and with cheap resources. And now we're starting to be more and more globalized and have its own influence into Africa and Europe in general.
And even the communications industry, like the telecom, Morocco Telecom, Orange, the phone company. Just even watching the Africa Cup or the soccer games, you see Orange, which is a Moroccan cell phone company, is a sponsor of these games that are in Senegal, that are in other African countries. You see it's very visible. So it's a French company. Well, I mean, it has a lot of presence.
Yeah, no, it definitely does.
That's how we see how Europe and Morocco and Sub-Saharan Africa are all linked.
Yeah.
And yes, this dates back to colonization, obviously, but a lot of it actually is still a good thing here in Morocco.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What is the healthcare system like? Public versus private? Is it expensive? Do people have access to birth control? what's the disease prevention measures, vaccines?
Do you guys want to answer that?
Okay,
Colleen's
well,
answered a lot of it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
We have.
Colleen has
Colleen answered a lot of that. Okay.
touched on a lot of that.
Okay, cool. Some of us have had the privilege of
First-hand experience with the healthcare
visiting
system.
clinics in
Yeah.
Morocco. And compared to American prices, it is very affordable, but for many Moroccans,
It is not.
it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Morocco actually has a system of house call doctors still, which was interesting. Asia and I both had unfortunate run-ins with food poisoning earlier this year that mandated Colleen scrambling a doctor to our host family. The medical system is very advanced in Morocco. I heard someone say recently that if you're in Africa and you need advanced medical care, you either go north to Morocco or south to South Africa. So it's generally respected as one of the best places where you can get medical care in the continent of Africa.
Okay, so concerning lingual diversity, how is it communicating with our host families?
So all of our host
it's
families,
awesome.
we're all unique situations, right?
Yeah, it's very
it's all
unique.
pretty-
It's unique.
It depends. So some host families speak French, some don't. Some of us speak French, some of us don't. Some host families speak very advanced Fusha, modern standard Arabic. Some host families, most people primarily conversate in Darija, but some host families are more able to speak Fusha, which is the language we're learning in class with us. And so my host family, for example, my host sister speaks very good English, and she also speaks very good modern standard Arabic. My host mom only speaks Darija. And so you have to kind of modify how you're communicating with each person, which can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely a constant, I want to say it's constantly stimulating because you really just want to get points across, and us to our families and our families to us as well. And you can pull in Darija, you can pull in French if you know it, you can pull in Fusha because Darija does have a lot of classical Arabic in it. You can pull in really whatever to get your point across, and it's always interesting to communicate with your families. And I think just all of us, some of us have stayed with families, like Catherine and Andrew have stayed with their families since the beginning of the year. I moved halfway through the year to a new family, like many other students, and it's a journey of getting comfortable with lingually communicating with your family. And
Yeah. I mean, just for example, my host mother went to French school, and so didn't particularly study modern standard Arabic, and so she knows some of it from the Quran and from she remembers some of it from before going on to high school, but she and I will mostly converse in Darija. However, my host dad did not go to French school. He spends a lot of time with the Quran, and so his Fusha is very excellent. And he told me early on in the year that if we wanted to, he and I could converse in Fusha. So generally, if we're alone, he and I will speak the modern standard Arabic that I'm learning in school, which is excellent practice for all the tricky grammar concepts and things like that. If the three of us are together, we'll speak Darija or something like that. But it totally varies based on who you're with. And sometimes I think that my host family isn't necessarily even cognizant of which language they're speaking in. They just communicate, and they communicate so fluidly that it's really incredible and fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. As for me, I think so. I go to a French school, so French is pretty much my primary language of communication on a daily basis. Obviously, I speak Darija and Modern Standard Arabic, but not to the extent of my French. And so what usually happens when I speak to my own family is I just throw in French words in the middle of Darija sentences, and that just makes perfect sense. And we all communicate like this. And it's only when French people have come to my house, or people that did not speak French that came to my house and saw that half of my sentences didn't make sense to them, but the other half did, that I realized that we're not taught to differentiate between languages a lot. I grew up in my youth thinking that Darija and French were the same language. It's only when I got into school that teachers made me separate the two languages, saying that no, I shouldn't throw in Darija words in my essays. It was like a first grade.
Unlike Ali, I go to a public Moroccan school, so Arabic is the language I speak throughout most of my day in most of my classes. I speak Moroccan Darija with my family. My parents both speak modern standard Arabic, Fusha, and Moroccan Darija, and a little bit of French. But we mostly just communicate in Moroccan Darija.
Okay, how long did it take us to feel comfortable communicating in the language? I think for me at least, it's not really a question of am I comfortable communicating? It's like, am I comfortable enough to try to communicate, and am I comfortable making mistakes? Because there's no, like, we're here for 8 months. We're not going to get to a point where we're not going to make any mistakes, or we're going to speak perfect Arabic or anything like that. And so we just kind of have to be okay with the fact that we're always going to make mistakes, and that that's okay, and that we're learning. And so our host families and people we interact with are understanding of that.
Yeah, I think that was a big hurdle for me early on in the program, and then over the summer as well, was learning to be okay trying to articulate an idea, even if what you're saying isn't particularly cogent or anything like that. Arabic is a really tough language, and even now, sometimes I feel like I'm getting to a point where I can be particularly conversational, and then I get used to being there, and a week later, I feel like I can't say anything at all. And it's just because I've gotten accustomed to the level that I was at. And so in many ways, I think that's kind of rewarding. It's constantly pushing us to try harder and reach higher and things like that. But in terms of when we started to feel comfortable, that would totally depend. If you were to ask me whether I felt comfortable in Arabic, that would depend on the day. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster. It's a beautiful roller coaster, but it's definitely, I feel like I personally always have to reset and kind of give myself a pep talk every day. So again, it's like it's based on the day. But luckily with my family, I think with all of our families, we are able to make mistakes in a really accepting environment, lingually.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be experiencing so much contrast in our 4 to 5 months versus what we would have been experiencing without NSLI? So all of us are well, me, Catherine, and Andrew are on a gap year before college. So I guess I would compare it to like, how would this be at university versus
Here.
like here?
Yeah.
And I definitely think that both of them would have been like, both of these times, whether we were starting college now or now that we're here, we're like learning a lot about ourselves, learning a lot about what we believe. We all take this class called Global Citizen, that just really, it's amazing. It forces us to talk about and articulate like who we are, what we believe, why do we believe certain things, how do we respond to culture, to society, to everything. And I think that honestly the pace that I've been going at here and like experiencing all of these things has been probably more just like rewarding and self exploratory like than just being in college, because I think I've really had the time to come home after Arabic class, to come home after volunteering and think about like, who am I as an American? How is my experience defined by like who I am in my life? And that's been really nice because we don't have as many distractions with like a bunch of classes or like keeping up a GPA. It's really been about the cultural exchange and learning the language.
Yeah, definitely. I think having taken some time before moving on to college, obviously I don't know this just yet because I'm not there, but will be really beneficial to me. I think I've been able to kind of take a step back and re-examine what it is that I want from my college experience and how it is that I want to go about doing that. I think so many of the experiences I've had this year that have been really rewarding have been things that I've just decided to like go for. Like, okay, I'll just shoot an email to that person and see what happens. And I think having almost deviated from the track of just going from straight to high school onto college has been really rewarding in teaching me that, so that hopefully when I go back to college, it'll be carrying on those experiences.
Will we be continuing studying Arabic?
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
If we want, we can take that into like the future and then wrap it up. Yeah.
I can't speak for y'all, but I definitely
yeah.
going to be. I think we're all going to be continuing Arabic.
Yeah.
In college, hopefully.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
And I'm really interested in not just continuing with Fusha, but learning more dialects. So like ones from the Levant, like Jordanian Arabic, Lebanese Arabic, Egyptian Arabic, which is like also really useful. And I personally love learning Darija as well. So I think with that aspect, continuing Arabic to learn more of like on the street, being able to communicate more in Arabic, not just learning the grammar and vocabulary and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with respect to scope of what we've done so far, we're about halfway through our program as of a couple of days ago, and we had a quiz a few weeks back in one of our Arabic classes, and on the top was written Arabic 302. One of our friends had taken a college Arabic class before and was like, oh my gosh, we've done 6 semesters of Arabic in 4 months. And so I think this experience has been really, really good in that we've been able to learn so much Arabic, and now like it's a tough language, but I know I definitely want to continue going with it just because we've invested so much, and there's so much still to learn and so much that we can do with it. That's really exciting.
And Arabic also is so influential in other languages too. I'm really interested in Spanish, and there are a lot of expressions, like a lot of words and things that just come from Arabic because Spain is so close to so much of North Africa and the history of everything. And also, I was actually originally going to Turkey to learn Turkish, which didn't happen because of a government coup and all these things. So, but like, it's really cool because like I'm seeing that like Arabic, like, if I do decide to learn Turkish in the future, I'm not sure if I will. Arabic will definitely help me with that, and I think it can help. It opens a lot of doors and helps to like a lot of other languages. It's kind of like just like the Middle East and like
Thank you so
North
much,
Africa region is sort of like in the middle of a lot of things. Like
for
Arabic is like that
your insightful presentations.
Okay.
That's
And I'm just going to pull up our final slide.
That was it. Okay.
I think that's all the time we
For
have,
those of you
but thanks so
remaining
much
in
for
the
joining
chat
us,
room,
guys.
just a couple
We love
NSLI
talking about our
resources we
experiences
wanted
here,
to
so thanks
share.
for giving us the forum to do it.
Yep.
NSLI
you.
website that was shared in the chat box earlier, where you can find information on the NSLI program and how to apply. And then also the website for NSLI Interactive that features stories and multimedia from current students and alumni. And this is where we'll share the recording of the event in a few weeks. So once again, a big thank you to Deja, Andrew, and Catherine for your fascinating presentations, and to Ali and Nuhela for your contributions as well. We're so thrilled you were able to join this event and share your perspectives on diversity in Morocco. Thank you everyone for attending. Bye.